Hello, welcome. I'm Peasant, and today we're playing with Earth, and we're going to be doing a principles playthrough. So it's not an overexplain. I'm going to go into exhaustive detail, but I'm going to try and say useful, kind of come back to some generalities about Spirit Island and things you want to do with this spirit in particular, and Spirit Island in general. So it's aimed squarely at newer players. If you have any questions about this game or Spirit Island, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer them all. Okay, so we are in the first growth phase of the game as Earth. Earth is interesting. They have some things that override some other generalities. They always place presence, which is very, very useful. It means that you can reclaim a card if you want to. But Earth does have some pitfalls. It has an innate that's difficult to get. It also has, you can have a very clean and tidy looking island, but lose by running out of time. It's unusual to lose in this way with any other spirit, but Earth has the ability to just play through the game, island nice and tidy. Oh, they try and explore and draw a card and there is not one there. That's an easy situation that can happen with Earth. You look at this card here, invade skip all actions in target landstead. It's very powerful, but you want to be really sparing with this one if you can. And yeah, but that's enough glittering generators. I'm sure we'll find some along the way. Now, this Earth's Vitality ability is wonderful. Defend 3 in every land where you have a sacred site. So most of your presence placement is going to be thinking about this. And if we look here, we've got our opening mountain explore, and we've already got a sacred site in this mountain. And there's a Dahan in there. We can just leave this alone, and in the Ravage next turn, this Dahan will counterattack and kill the town, because this is going to grant defend 3, so that's pretty nice. That is pretty nice. In fact, we could just leave this alone all game, and they'll build, and then they'll ravage, and they'll counterattack, and this is just going to be sharing us a little bit of fear every time this ravages, so that's quite nice. So yeah, not really a problem. This land here, though, is going to build this turn. It's going to be a 6 damage ravage, which is actually quite hard. We don't have a defend card to deal with that. We could use Year of Perfect Stillness, but it's expensive and we might have better things to do. The other thing we have going on is this Guard the Healing Land, a defend card that also removes Blight in the fast phase. This is incredibly powerful. Fast Blight removal is a lifesaver a lot of the time in close encounters. So, and you might even just want to use it to remove Blight. You don't even need to use the defend, but again, it's pricey. Draw of the Fruitful Earth is often what you want to play turn 1, and it doesn't look like it does. It doesn't look like much compared to these other big ones, but Gathering 2 Explorers is potentially preventing 2 builds. And if you can prevent a build, you have to worry about the Ravage. There's less invaders on the island, easy to clear out. And there's also Gathering the Dahan. Rituals of Destruction is the other start card they have. This is the one I typically forget really earn for a major power. There's 2 main ways to play this spirit. Either you go for an early major power, with a little bit of, defending, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Or you can try and build around this card here, which it's an okay card. It has lots of nice elements on it. But I don't tend to play like this. Some people do tend to play like this, and they take it very seriously indeed. So, if you see someone and they've got, Rituals of Destruction tattoo on their face, don't tell them you forget this. All right? Just don't bring it up. They'll be trying to bring that conversation on with an overly aggressive Rituals of Destruction facial tattoo, but just don't go there. Just talk about other board games that aren't good. Anyway, that's just something of use to beginning players might be, if you do want to use this, you need the 3 Dahan, so you've kind of got a bit of a lead in from Draw of the Fruitful Earth into Rituals of Destruction. Probably we are going to forget that, though. I'm on the internet. I'm not scared of the Rituals of Destruction facial tattoo crew. I'm not worried. That's enough sidetracking. That's not helpful for beginners. So, I'm probably going to let this land go, but we may Year of Perfect Stillness it. We may do that, just to save a Blight, but I don't rate that as a highly useful thing for us to do. Look at our tracks. So we've got a great big energy track. Even jumps from 4 to 6 here. Our plays track is not so great. We're probably going to want the second play soon. The other thing to note is that this presence placement at 0 range, gaining a power card, this is kind of a problem. Except remember, if you can make a sacred site, that defend 3 is very valuable, especially if it's already in with Dahan. It would be a bit of a gamble. We could have a very similar setup in maybe this land or this land, but with this with this option there. You'll also notice the ranging. To get the long range, we need to actually use the reclaim option. Well, well, well. I like the idea of a turn 1 draw the fruitful earth to potentially prevent builds. To target anywhere on the island, we'll need to have a presence in here. Then we can target anywhere with our draw. And this is a good turn 1 for this spirit. We need the range, so let's go with gaining some energy. And we would like a second play, I think. We'd like a second play. So, but we're not going to get it just yet. Okay, so turn 1, we play this. That's just fine. It's just fine. Another glittering generality. Okay. Okay, let's see what we get. We get a jungle explore. Well. Okay, the plot has thickened somewhat. It has thickened a little bit. So the jungle explore, we can prevent both of these builds, but the only land we can drag into is this mountain here. And then with the extra explorers, this will actually be a 5 damage ravage. But it also is just fine. It really is fine. We could actually just let that go. The interesting thing is that with 3 defend and 5 attack, they will do 2 extra damage. The land will blight and they'll destroy a Dahan. But if we drag these 2 Dahan in here as well, they'll counterattack and clear almost everything from that land. It's messy, but I'm doing it, okay? And you can't stop me. The nice thing about this is preventing both of these builds is it's a big step up to just clearing the inland, and that's a good principle because if the inland has no buildings, then we will have fewer explores. We're gonna be a way off from that because we've still got this town up here, but we might be able to do something nice about that. Okay, we're Ravage here. We're letting it go. Ravage here. We're letting it go. We could just use a defend card. Let's assess our options. We have 5 energy to play with this turn. So if we were to use this option here, we'd gain an extra couple of energy and we could play a couple of cards. So we could prevent the blight going in either of these lands. I don't know, that sounds okay. We also potentially could gain a major power. Then have a look at that. See, given that we have this solution in hand, and we can get to the second play, and if we go with this growth option to gain the energy, we can afford it. I think that's okay. It's not the blaze of blight on the island that I would have preferred. I tend to have a bit of a messy playstyle. So, but how does this refer to principles, peasant? I don't know. See, this innate here is hard to get. It's a tricky one to get, but we might be able to get it if we can play. If we choose to play Rituals of Destruction. We can get it to repeat a power card that's, yeah, ignore that. Ignore that. I think generally you'll have a happier time with the spirit if you just ignore this altogether, except maybe for playing with a multi-spirit game with green or something like that, in which case, or a spirit that can give you elements to make this a lot easier. Okay, we're going to go with the safe option here. We're going to use Guard the Healing Land and Year of Perfect Stillness. We're going to make it so no blight happens. To do so, we're going to have to place a presence from here to get the energy together. Now, our presence placement is a bit kind of we're a bit in the dark here. We could because it's in the growth phase. We don't know where they're going to explore. So I'm going to just hedge my bets by just having presence everywhere for the sake of setting up a situation a bit like this where we've got the sacred site, we've got 3 defend, and then if they go in there, it's just fine. So I think maybe in here, because this coastal land, this one that has only lands that have few adjacencies, you generally want to prioritize looking after them a little bit more than the others. There you go. There's an advanced tip for you. Slip one in there. So this is fine. This is fine. So we don't actually want to skip all actions in here because that will also skip the counterattack. We won't get to counterattack with our Dahan in there, so we'll just do this in here. You know, we might have still been better off just not doing this, but it's a more straightforward approach. Okay, so we have the Ravage. This one gets skipped, and this one we get the counter, which clears it completely. Okay, we have no jungle builds because there's no one in the jungle, and we have an Explorer. So this town... Oh, actually, that's interesting. This town is the only reason that if there was a jungle Sandor mounted Explorer, this town's the only thing that's making those happen. So if we can deal with this soon, that'd be great. If we could deal with it in the fast phase, that'd be even better, but I don't think we can. Unless we gain a major power, which is what I propose we do. Let's have a little look. Ravage, clear and clear. Builds in here. So they'll build a city here and a town here. Now, Earth always places a presence. So you don't, you don't have to... You don't have to sweat. You don't have to sweat. So you don't have to worry so much about avoiding reclaiming is what I'm driving towards. Now, we are a little bit out of step here. We could gain a major power. If we place from the energy track, we'll have 4 energy in total, which is enough to play most major powers. If we don't draw a major we like, we could use Rituals of Destruction to do a slightly pathetic 2 damage in here, but it's enough to destroy the town and make sure that this land is not a problem when it ravages. That's an okay fallback plan. I wouldn't like to plan as my main plan. If we reclaim and place this, we'll have 4 energy, so we could play one of our start cards as well as draw the Fruitful Earth. Draw the Fruitful Earth is very good. I'm very keen to destroy this town, but I might be getting a bit fixated there. Okay, let's gain a major power. And remember, we don't have to place... We always look at the power first, because this might... Although it's a 0 range place, so it's unlikely to make much difference, but we'll see what we get offered. Okay, these are some cards. So, this is an interesting selection. So, with this spirit, I mostly ignore Gift of Strength, right? There are a few powers that have all 3 of these, like Trees and Stone, Speak of War has all of these elements. So I'm probably not going to consider those. This is an interesting selection right here. We don't have anything that can do we? Wait a second. We don't have anything that we can use to stop this being around with during the Explore. That's mildly a shame. But it's not a big deal. This is a great power for this spirit in particular. It's a tricky one. The 0 ranging on it and the fact you need Dahan in there can mean it's quite easy to trip up with other spirits, but this particular spirit, because when they reclaim cards, they place at 2 range, means they can pretty much always set up to have their presence in with a big cluster of Dahan. So I favour this. It does quite a lot on its own, but it's not really something to use this turn, so probably we will use Rituals of Destruction in here this turn. See, if we did want to go for this innate, and I don't recommend it. But okay, why don't I recommend it? So, because to get this level where it actually starts doing a lot for you, you need to have 3 plays. If you've got 3 plays, then you've neglected your energy track. Yeah, it's without help from other spirits, it's not that great. Okay, so Wrap in Wings of Sunlight. I actually quite like this Rituals of Destruction in here to destroy this town that gets built. I quite like it. I mean, they will... Yeah, I like that quite a lot. So normally I would forget Rituals of Destruction straight away, flying in the face of the facially tattooed Rituals of Destruction crew. Don't care. So I think I'm going to forget Year of Perfect Stillness. This is a very powerful card, but it is a trap card. Let's forget that. Because we have no use for Wrap this turn. Unless we wanted to move Dahan about. But it's a very expensive way to move Dahan around when we've got this useful thing to do. So we'll make a Sacred Site here, which we need for this targeting. and we can destroy this town in the slow phase. We might change our mind because it is a slow power, and the explore might mean we want to change our mind. So no ravage because there's nothing there. City gets built in here, and a town in here. Okay, so we've got the jungle explore. So we can destroy this town in here, and then we don't have to worry about this ravage. And this wrap, it will give me 5 defend. So it's going to move up to 5 Dahan into this land and give me 5 defend. Now this is a 6 damage attack versus 5 defend means that's fine. Especially in base game, you're safe. With events in the game with Branch of Claw and stuff, that might not work out. But in base game, you're safe. So we will do this. And here's a nice little thing, is if you can leave a lone Dahan with a lone explorer in the ravage, they just tidy up for you. Because 1 damage is not enough to place blight. Well, okay then. So we've got wrap for here. We'll take the 3 Dahan that are in here, because 3 Dahan is 6 damage, it's enough to completely clear this land. If we could, it would be nice to do something about these as well. How much energy have we got now? We're only going to have 4 energy to play with. Well, probably 5 if we place from this track. So it's unlikely that we're going to... We could gain another major power. This already has a sacred site in it, so it's going to give 3 defend. So this is safe. If we gain see this 0 range play, I feel like this can be a problem, because one of your best things to do is make these sacred site defend areas. This is an opportunity to do this and make a sacred site in here and gain another major power card. Yeah, we want this sacred site in here anyway, so we will take this opportunity. We're almost certainly going to put the sacred site in here, but let's just remember the fact that we always want to wait till after the power card. There's never any benefit to doing it the other way around. We could gain a minor power. What that would enable is us doing something this turn with it. We've got the 2 plays. And we wouldn't then have to forget one of our cards. Is there... I mean, this land is dealt with this turn. The Ravage is... In the Ravage, this is going to be cleared. We're going to be clearing this in the Ravage as well. But we're not really... These builds are kind of not really a big deal. But we could do... I think I'm going to go with gaining a minor power here, because our energy tracks aren't there yet for really throwing out the majors. But they will be next turn. We'll be up to 6 power next turn. 6 energy, sorry. Another 3 cost major power could be pretty nice. I think you could go either way here. I think this Spirit, with this amazing energy track and a slightly weak plays track, you generally want to be playing the big cards. And although our Guard the Healing Land is wonderful and I love it, it's a bit overcosted. Do we? We could forget rituals. I'm keen to keep a draw of the Fruitful Earth, though. Okay, next turn we're going to be reclaiming. So that's something else to think about. We're not going to be gaining a card for a while if we reclaim next turn. I'm going to go with a minor power, but hey, I think you could make a good case for going whichever way here. Okay. All right, so we have got Enticing Splendor, 0 range, and we can gather and explore a town. We can even gather Dahan. Interesting. So we can gather one of these explorers into this land and prevent the build, which is kind of cool. We could also gather Dahan into this land so that they could counterattack. But we've got a use for these Dahan this turn. They're going to be in here. And so if we drag them in here, then they're not where we want them. So this is a good, useful card for us. The fact it's 0 is also of interest. Okay. So generally with these kind of picks, I don't favour going for this option for the innate at all. It's a red herring. So I just would go for, so the elements thing is less relevant. I suppose we're thinking about elements potentially for this, but we're not, this is not difficult for us to, we don't have a problem getting enough Dahan for the counter. So we might consider sun, air, beast for our elements. But I'm not going to. Not going to. We could use Visions of Fiery Doom to prevent either of these builds by pushing out, and we'd instantly gain a fear. Yeah, I don't think anything here is going to make that much difference. Interesting though, the Enticing Splendor, if we drag this Explorer in, it's functionally the same as how, so if you have an Explorer and then there's an Explorer and then there's a town build and then there's a Ravage, it's only 4 damage versus 3 defend, which in base is perfectly safe. So I think Enticing Splendor is a nice thing to tack onto this turn. Drag in one of these Explorers. We will still... Yeah, drag in one of these. If we drag in this one, then we can actually make a Sacred Site over here, which might come in handy at some point. It probably won't, but it might do. So we'll play these 2 cards. We will Enticing Splendor in here, drag this Explorer in here. And now we could wrap to bring the Dahan into here. So we target in here, and we bring all 3, because we need all 3 to clear this land. Okay, so now we have the Ravage. So a single Explorer is no good. Well, no good for the invaders, good for us. And we've now cleared enough of the inland that we might get lucky with our Explorer. Let's see what we get. Okay, so... Mountain Explorer, damn it. If it'd been a wetland or a jungle, we would have skipped an Explorer. But this is still fine, remember? It's still fine. Okay. So, we now have no cards. So we probably want to reclaim. Though, if you look at the situation here, the Ravage is fine, this Ravage is fine, this build is also kind of fine. There's not much pressure on us. It would be good to do something about this. And I actually don't think it's worth necessarily placing a presence and dragging these in for the counterattack. I suppose it's one less building inland, but they're going to build in here this turn anyway. But we are going to reclaim. We are going to do it. It would be lovely to prevent this build. We don't have a good way of doing it. And we actually can't Enticing Splendor into the... because of the blight that's in this land. So it would have been nice to bring these in for a counter, but we can't. We can bring in these 2 for the counter on a future turn. Yeah, okay, fine. We'll reclaim. We'll reclaim. We've only got one actual directly damage dealing thing here, which is Rituals of Destruction. It needs 3 Dahan to actually really do any serious damage. Yeah, let's just reclaim. We'll go for the simplest option. And we're going to go for this big jump in power. Yeah, it's going to mean we're free to just play wherever we want, whenever we want, for whoever we want. So let's think about this mountain in here. So it's currently at 5/7 damage in the Ravage. They're going to build another town taking up to 9. If we make a Sacred Site in here, that's 3. We need 6 more defend. Guard the Healing Land is not enough. That's only 7 defend. But if we use Wrap in there in future, that's 5 defend. And the Sacred Site is the other 3, so 8. It is enough. Let's start making a Sacred Site in here then. Alright. And we also need to have a good land to bring counterattackers from. So we want to make that happen this turn. We certainly do. So we could use Draw of the Fruitful Earth to bring some counterattackers in here for the future. It'll be too... This Ravage will happen before Draw for the Fruitful Earth, so... We could just use Enticing Splendor. That's a cheap way of getting them in there, which is kind of what we want. Yeah, getting 2 in there is decent. And these lands are all defended. I actually think we might be... yeah, okay, so here's something tricky with Wrap in Wings of Sunlight. Is that you need to actually move Dahan for it to work. But you can move them from within the land they're going to. But I think we want to try and clear this land. So let's try and have a maximal Wrap next turn. So that we can properly clear this land out. Though actually, we're gonna... yeah, I think we've got a few ways of... plenty of ways of going here. We need to make this Sacred Site next turn. We need to be in with some Dahan next turn. We actually can't place... we need to bring some Dahan into a land with presence that we have. We don't want to bring these ones because these Dahan are going to go in here. So I think we need to use Draw the Fruitful Earth to bring some Dahan into one of our lands. Okay, very low-key turn. Just got to play these 2 little cards. So we'll bring these ones in. I think if I had a way of preventing this build, I've been into that. Invaders do not build in lands with cities. Okay, well, that's a bit of a reprieve. We now have nowhere near the pressure on this land. We have a mountain build, so they do build their town in there. I feel like I've played this quite inaccurate. So if an experienced player has stumbled onto this beginner-friendly video, this probably is a way more efficient way of doing all this. Okay, so Draw the Fruitful Earth. We can use to... we could, if we draw them into this, which is the only land that's adjacent to both of them, we could prevent both of these builds. That's kind of compelling. Given that they didn't build an extra town in here, we only need 7 defend in here now. So we could actually defend it with Guard the Healing Land. We want to clear these buildings with Wrap next turn. 5, 7. But preventing builds is wonderful. This Ravage here, if we drag these this Explorer into here, then this will actually this will be 5 damage versus 3, so we'll actually be upset about that. Drawn in a few different directions here. If we... we could drag this one and this one into here, and then we can Wrap in Winds of Sunlight from here to here next turn, and still make our Sacred Site and maybe gain another major power. I think that's what I'm going to go with. So we'll prevent this build. We're going to leave this build. And this is a 6 damage ravage. So that's... if we bring this Explorer in, we don't need a Sacred Site in here, because we'll be taking the damage down to 6. Yeah, that's also cool. I like that. So we'll bring this one in here. We won't gather them out. Okay, so we've got a Ravage here that is defended. We've got a Ravage here that is a 6 damage, so Wrap will take care of it. We don't need to make a Sacred Site in here anymore. If we drag a couple of these Dahan into here, they could counterattack and clear this land, which is pretty nice. That would be our 2 plays. We'd need to reclaim our Enticing Splendor to do that. We could also... I mean, we've got boatloads of energy now. So we could... we've got plenty of options. We could even bring these... we could even place a presence in here, drag these over here. I quite like the this enticing splendor into here, but then we're going to have so much, we're going to have way more energy. It seems silly to have 13 energy this turn and be reclaiming for a minor power. Yeah, this wrap here is fine for this land. This is a luxury to deal with. Let's gain another major and try and get job done. So we are going to gain a power card. Now, given that I might be able to clear this inland. I'm going to still make this sacred site probably, but we'll see what major we get offered. We'll see what we get. Okay, so we didn't get offered anything that's likely to help with this. Because, yeah. Well, not going to help us immediately. We've offered more defend cards. Okay, so none of these look that nice. I mean, this is an incredibly powerful card just in general. This ability the defend is nice and the range is good, but the fact that you can downgrade a city to a town or a town to explorer means you can just use it to yoink close wins. And games that otherwise look a little bit lost. This is an awkward one to get threshold on because you need, basically, as Earth, we're going to need 4 plays to do it. We're not likely to get, but it's still a lot of damage and fear. We don't really want to hit jungle and wetlands, but we're so good at cleaning up blight that we're not too worried even if we do add some extra blight in. So I think I'm going to take this. It is something of it's a somewhat wasteful thing to be playing, but it's fine. We've got so much energy, and we're going to forget Rituals of Destruction. And I don't care what those tattooed nut jobs think. Don't care. But it's easy to be bold when you're on the internet, right? Okay, so we're going to wrap to bring this extra Dahan into here for the defend, and then we're going to pillar, and probably in here. Maybe in here. Okay, so fast phase, we execute the plan. The long dreamed of plan. There it is. Okay, and now we're straight into the Ravage, so we clear this land. Lovely stuff. And they are thwarted in there. And they get their wetland build. And we have a sand explore. Well, well, well. So so if we target a jungle or wetland, we do add a blight. Sure. So we don't want to hit this jungle because that would be a blight cascade. That would be less than ideal. But if we hit this land, as it stands, if we leave this alone, a blight is going to go down anyway. And it's going to get cleared anyway because they'll kill a Dahan, but the remaining ones will clear the land. We're actually not really gaining anything apart from the fear. If we do this turn, we may as well just let it ravage. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. So, not much point hitting there. We could hit here. And if we do that, what it means is that we'll have destroyed all the buildings in here. So if there is a jungle explorer coming up, oh wow, we're at stage 3 already. This is the danger with Earth. We're at stage 3, which means that every card that comes up, especially that first one, is a 50% chance of hitting any given land because each of the stage 3 has 2 lands on. So if we smash this, we've got a good chance of saving ourselves an explorer in there. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. So yeah, because this is going to deal with itself anyway. So we'll just smash this land. And gain a little bit of fear. And we're now at terror level 2. So, these guys are going to murder themselves in the Ravage. Alright. That's before the build. So they're going to be building a town here and here, but we might be able to win before that build. Let's just see. So remember what I was saying about Winds of Rust and Atrophy being really good, right? We could have that's the big defend card. Let's find it. That's this big defend card here that downgrades a building, so city to a town or town to explorer. In this situation, if we used it, we could downgrade this town to an explorer, and then in the Ravage, this town would die, and we'd win. We'd just win. But we didn't choose that. We didn't choose that one. So, do we have a way of destroying this town in the fast phase? I don't think we do. Unless we can drag it into a ravage in here. And drag in some Dahan. Yeah, we can. We can do that. We've got the technology. We can use Enticing Splendor and we can use Wrap. And then we will win in the Ravage before these guys build. So let's do that. It sounds clever. And let's just have more energy. I mean, at this point, it would be better to go plays, almost certainly. It would just be better. So we're gonna do some enticing wrapping. So we're gonna use the Ravage to finish off the invaders. So we gather in this town, and we wrap in here, and we move them into here. And now we should win in the Ravage. Each player moves a town from a coastal land. Well, okay, fine. So this is going to die anyway, so we may as well remove this one. I mean, it's somewhat academic at this point. Okay, another fear card. Defend 2 in all lands with presence. Each spirit gains an energy per sacred site having lands with invaders. Wasn't that wonderful? So we have this Ravage which is defended, and we have this messy Ravage. Messy counter. People have different names for this. But we have now destroyed all the buildings and we've won. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like the video if you like the video. And if you have any questions about anything I've said, if you're a representative of the Rituals of Destruction facial tattoo crew, well, I'm sorry that you're have so much to prove. We could get the details out. There you go. There you go. There's the island. But yeah, let me know if it was useful, if it wasn't useful, or whatever. And if you have questions about Spirit Island, let me know in the comments, and I'll stop blathering now. Bye-bye for now.